Hi, it's Paul Ryan from Ryan Tunes, and the title of today's session is The Math of Songwriting. The math? Really? Maybe I've lost my marbles. Well, the reason I'm using that word is that when I got back into the songwriting craft, a couple of things became apparent. One of which was every piece of music, the great ones and even some of the not so great ones, contain two elements. The creative element, no question there, and that's the fun part, certainly one of the fun parts. But also there are boundaries or parameters, if you want. There's kind of walls that you don't venture too far out of. I call it math, but it applies to both the music and lyrical side of songwriting. So let's just take music, for example, the music side. Notes are notes, scales are scales. They've never changed. Since those songs that I played in that last session, nothing's changed right through history. And the relationship between the notes hasn't changed. That to me is mathematics. What I'd like to do is just throw a chart up here, which has really helped me out in a lot of ways. And it's been probably overused. You've probably seen it yourselves a million times, but it's called the circle of fifths. The circle of fifths is a principle in music theory that begins from the note of C in the key of C major, because it has no sharps and flats, and repeatedly moves up in steps of a perfect fifth through every key until it returns to C major. So the purpose of the chart, the original purpose of the chart, is just to show sharps and flats and how each key is different, each major key. However, it's got some other useful, some other uses that I've had, and it's been great. It's a handy chart to have around. For example, let's say you're playing with a capo on, and the leader wants you to play in a new key. And let's say that the capoed key is D. So maybe you're on 2, he's playing E or she, and you have to play it in D. Well, a chord is comprised of the 1, the 3, and the 5, right? 1, 3, and 5 notes. So the root is D, the third is an F sharp, and the fifth is going to be an A. So you're going to have, on your guitar or whatever instrument, you're going to have some D notes and some F sharp and some A in there. That's your chord. Or maybe you're playing an instrument that you've never played before. Same thing. You can manufacture a chord. And the same thing with chord progressions. Let's take, I don't know, CFG or CFG7. That's 1, 4, and 5. So if you use the circle of fifths, you can see the relationship of note to note or key to key along that wheel. So it can be useful in a lot of different ways, and that's just a couple. There's probably other ones that I haven't even found yet. I'm sure there are. So I would argue that on the music side of songwriting, yes, there's some math involved. There's an interrelationship of musical notes and keys that's never changed. It'll always be the same, and your songwriting will contain that. But on the lyric side, maybe I'm stretching a little bit to say that there's a math to lyric writing. Maybe a bit, but there's boundaries there too. For example, there's been a lot of different research studies done on the subject matter in lyric writing and music compositions. And usually they come back with 60 to 65% are about love and loss. And then the other 40% is split between a bunch of different subjects, inspirational songs, aspirational songs, children's songs, Christmas songs, humor, and more. So you can write outside of that boundary, that sort of history, I suppose. But chances are out of 10 songs, you're going to be in in that 100% somewhere, writing about those subjects. And the second point on lyrics to make for me is, this is from the Sheila Davis book of songwriting on song forms. By the way, that's a great book. It's a big, thick book, and it has a wealth of information on songwriting. But in this little chart, it just talks about forms, and you can see how limited that is. And you can say, oh, well, I can write outside of that. Well, you can. I've done it. But chances are, most of the time, I return back to one of those, A, B, A, B, or A, A, B, B, or verse, chorus, or whatever it is. They're just easy to write with, and the lyrics and those forms kind of work really well together once you've got your meter down. So I would argue that there is some math there, or boundaries, if that's a better word, or parameters, but there is a more or less finite number of forms that you're going to want to use in your songwriting.